You're listening to Last Word Radio, where you get the last word.
3, 2, 1. We're live. The mic is hot. This is Carl back with you this week, trying to do my best Stevie Nick impression. He's here.
Are you making fun of me, Carl?
I would never.
Is this our new cold open? You did well. What do they say about providing feedback? You always start with the positive. You did well. Now, I think you could have added a little more spice to your hot. Like the mic is hot.
Okay.
You really want to spice up. You want people to feel how hot that mic is.
Right. You want them to feel the warmth of your breath in their ears when they're listening to this.
That's exactly it.
Okay. All right.
And then and you're there.
I appreciate the feedback. Glad to be back, Nick. Thank you for holding it down last week. You did a fantastic job.
Thank you. We had fun. I think it was fun to listen to. You tell me.
I had fun listening to it. I honestly wasn't sure I was going to get welcome back this week.
Well, I texted Erin and she was like, "Nah, I'm one and done."
She's going out on top.
She's like, "I don't have time for this."
You guys do this thing every week? Nah. I'm good. Yes, Erin. Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. I was prepping for the show when we first logged on. I was like, "So, are you ready? Did you practice? Did you prepare?" And she was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "I'm just kidding. We don't prepare for this show."
Did you get my pages of notes that I sent you to go over?
Your pages of notes? I had to do an ad read live on the air. That was new for me.
Yeah, you crushed it.
You know what? I'm going to be honest right here. I had nightmares the night before recording the show. I'm dead serious. I'm not even joking. I had nightmares that I forgot to push record and I wasted like an hour of Erin's time not recording. And B, because I hadn't opened your email with the actual copy of the ad, I had no idea what the ad was. And I just thought it was, I should have opened it and practiced it because I had nightmares that I didn't know what to say.
Well, you couldn't tell. It was fantastic. But I'm glad to be back.
I'm glad to have you back. It was hard driving the show.
You did it like a pro. You know what, Nick? One thing that I am going to make sure that we do, I'm going to let everyone know that we're part of the Alberta Podcast Network. This locally grown, community supported. I'm going to do that. That's a thing that I didn't do off the top because I was so flustered trying to be you.
See?
I should have been me.
I will say, I remembered to do it at the top of the show.
You did. I did not. So, I think
already,
you know who's the new host.
The dynamics are shifting.
It's a new world out there, Nick. Well, we are here this week. We're going to be breaking down all kinds of things. The second round has already started, Nick. 3 of the series have even finished games at this point in time. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into some news about some coaching changes. We're going to talk about the end of the first round, start of the second round. We're going to play a game later, and we are going to get into all of that. However, first, Nick, I want to tell you about a fantastic thing called Goodness Grows. We've talked about it on the show before, and much like you and Erin did to the fantastic listeners last week, there's nothing like the feeling of putting a smile on someone's face. This is where ATB Goodness Grows comes. So when one act of kindness can create a chain reaction across the entire world, specifically here, they're looking, Alberta Treasury Bank, ATB, they're looking to put smiles across the faces of Albertans. So through Goodness Grows, ATB will create moments where Albertans can come together for a smile. You want to join in? Simply follow the hashtag ATB Goodness Grows on social to see all the goodness growing across Alberta. Follow along, get inspired, and help share the goodness. So if you put a smile on someone's face this week, share that with the fine folks at ATB. More than just a bank, they also want to share some goodness. So do that, and you will not be disappointed, and see what other people are doing.
That was a darn good ad read.
How did I do?
You did great. I have no feedback on that one.
Just pause.
You like even threw some improv in there.
Yeah, I mean, that's because I only half read the ad read.
So that's how you do it.
Part of the trick, Nick. I mean, same thing, do we do prep? Someone once said, just add this to your podcast script. I said, and this was a recent thing. This was said to me within the last 2 months. So just add this to your script. To which I said, I should probably write a script then.
A podcast script. That's more stressful than just doing the show.
I think at this point in time, everyone knows what we have. Quite literally, I have written down 4 points that we're going to talk about today, and then the 4 series that are currently happening. That is the show prep that we've done for today.
Yeah, mine's in our text history. That's where I'm keeping track of it.
I went to our text history and wrote it down so that I can then so that I can number them, so that I can write the show notes after. And that's
one extra step. Love it.
Yeah.
All right. I got my second round picks.
Okay. So Nick's done his show prep thanks to his wife, who sent him the picks that he made.
That's right.
But let's get into some of this. Washington Capitals, they lost part of the fallout of that. Todd Reirden, no longer the head coach of the Washington Capitals. After 2 years of making the playoffs, no success in those playoffs, he's gone. Was that too short of a leash for him, or did it have to be quick?
I think it was a pretty short leash. I think this is more of it needs to be turned around quickly. Honestly, I think this might be the end of the Stanley Cup winning Washington Capitals, or Stanley Cup qualifying Washington Capitals.
You don't even think their playoff or their fringe playoff kind of?
I think they're nearing the end of being a contender. I don't even know. Yeah, they could have been a contender this year, but I think they're at the tail end of that, and they're probably going to go look for somebody who can take advantage of that for the next year or two. So
the main person that has been looked at so far is Peter Laviolette, who's obviously had a lot of success in the NHL before, veteran coach, currently available. That's the leader in the clubhouse to be brought in.
There's a lot of big names out there, though.
There is.
There's a lot of good. Gerard Gallant's still out there.
Somehow.
You go get Mike Babcock.
He's volunteer coaching with a college hockey team right now. He's very busy.
Is he? I didn't even know that.
I forgot what coach it is though. Yeah, he's doing that. He's on the redemption road. So,
I mean, he's still getting his Leaf salary. So,
yeah, he's not in a rush.
No.
Bruce Boudreau, who I mean has been talked about as potentially going to Toronto as an assistant. I'm not obviously, but I would assume he would rather a head coaching job than an assistant job.
Bruce Boudreau back behind the Capitals bench?
Round 2?
Round 2? More swears?
Can there be more?
I don't know if you can bring back Bruce Boudreau to coach this team.
I'm not sure he would want to.
No.
Here's the biggest question. Braden Holtby had a very mediocre playoff. He's had some moments where he hasn't been the greatest the last couple of years. He is unrestricted free agent after this year. He can go wherever he wants. Do you think he's back with this team next year?
I don't know. And you got to think that's a big question that any potential head coach candidate would ask. What is going on with this goalie? With the flat cap, I don't know who's going to pay for him with the flat cap.
I think if they do, it would be like a Robin Lehner 1-year deal. I mean, he didn't get a lot from the Blackhawks this year, but I think that would be kind of what he's looking at.
No, but even Robin Lehner doesn't want that deal anymore.
No, because he's earned something better. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I'm not sure there's a lot of teams out there that can fit him in. Capitals do have this space. They have $10 million in cap space, but when you look at this team, there is barely anyone under the age of 30. The core of this team is aging, especially by the time next year hits, almost all of their defense is going to be 30 years old. Ovechkin, he's currently 34. Backstrom and Oshie are 32, 33. Lars Eller, Carl Hagelin. These are all players on that further edge, also signed long. Like, these are guys that are signed until they're 35, 36. I'm not sure signing a 30-year-old goaltender to go along with this core is the right move.
And the thing with the cap now is that's going to be 80% of your free cap space for the foreseeable future.
Right, because it's going to be flat for a while.
So, like, I could see him back with the Capitals. I can't see it on a long-term deal. I don't think you extend him past 2 years.
I would agree. I would say if the Capitals bring him back, it's got to be short-term.
And it wouldn't surprise me. He's been part of this core that's gone and built this team and won them a cup. It wouldn't surprise me to see them reward him for that for a few more years, and he can ride out into the twilight with the rest of the core. Although he'll ride out before them.
I think that you would have potentially trying to bridge him further to Samsonov to be able to get that done. But certainly lots of questions for the Capitals and not what they want after all of this. But you know what? It did work out. Ovi got to be the cover athlete for NHL 21, his second time on the cover. So
it's very exciting for him. Do they make money for that? I assume somehow they do.
I mean, I would assume you would have to.
It can't just be for the prestige of it.
Yeah, I'm not putting my face on things for free.
No, exactly. Either. Exactly. So, I don't know. This team's going to be an interesting one to watch over the next couple years.
Yeah. And speaking of next year and looking towards some of that, John Shannon had some interesting comments today looking at next year. So we've got the flat cap, and part of the issue is that we still don't know when fans are going to be allowed back into the rinks. And that's obviously a big part of government. And I mean, we don't know anything about the potential future of sports. It's all up in the air. So he said that preliminary talks for next year are looking at an idea where there's now 4 bubble cities, and the teams will rotate through these bubble cities, 7 or 8 per team, and they'll rotate through. And he says, right now they're all in Canada, doesn't know where they'll be. But next year, even without fans, still looking at a bubble scenario. I don't think, we just saw Tuukka Rask leave because he needed to be with his family. He's like, look, there's something more important than this going on. I need to be with them, and I can't with this. I think if you're trying to do an entire season in a bubble, there's going to be some big old pushback.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can do a full 82 game season that way. It's just not realistic. I think you'll see a lot more players sit it out. But I think they can make it work. If by shrinking the amount of teams that are playing in each bubble at each time, if they shrink it a little bit, then they can have one group of teams that's rotating on like a bye week or a bye 2 weeks. So if you're playing 8 games, that's probably roughly a week and a half.
Let's say
2 weeks.
That would be a 2 week normal. Usually you play 3 or 4 games. Yeah.
2 week. And then, on your bye weeks, then you get to go home and be with your family.
Okay. So you're only really operating 3 bubbles at a time, essentially.
Yeah.
That makes more sense for sure.
I don't know how that works with quarantines. I mean, I'm making this up off the top of my head right now. There's a lot of logistical things they got to figure out, but I think they can make it work. But more importantly is I think they have to make it work, because you look at what the MLB is doing and it's been a giant mess, right? The bubble is working for the NHL. It's working for the NBA. It's a proven concept. So if they're going to have any season starting in November or December, I think it's going to have to start in a bubble.
I agree. Yeah. You have to start it there so that you can know right? That is going to be safe. I do think it's interesting because baseball is playing a shortened season. NBA has talked about a shortened season in the past, and I think this is where they might have to get a little creative and not try to play the 82 games, but have a shortened season, maybe some sort of mid-season tournament. I don't know what that looks like, but just getting creative with the scheduling, like your idea, right? That's a fantastic one. But
I mean, look, if you want to get back to your regular scheduled programming by 2022, so back to like the October to April schedule, then yeah, you just shorten this season. You don't put this personal strain on the players. You run from December to April, which would be what, a 60-game season?
Something like that.
Plus playoffs. Take 2 weeks off and then do the playoffs, something like that. They can make it work.
Absolutely. And what's interesting as well, you are hearing from some of the coaching staff and some of the management that this bubble is, I mean, we're only in the second round, but this bubble is officially reached the level of stress. It's not good.
Sounds like it's taking a toll on some guys, eh?
Yeah.
So I do wonder if that's something that teams and players considered when they built out this whole concept is, the mental strain of being isolated like this for so long.
I mean, we saw CBC or Sportsnet was covering, I won't say the show that he did it on because I'm not a fan of it, but Kevin Hayes was on a different podcast and was talking about his daily routine. And it's like, wake up, eat breakfast, play video games, go to practice, play bocce ball with the boys, eat dinner, watch hockey. You can only, I mean, it sounds great in theory.
Until it's like the 10th day in a row.
Right. It's like, what else did you do today? Played a different card game today.
And like, it must be awkward the way some of these series have gone with like the animosity between the two teams to then like turn around and see each other at the Tim Hortons truck the next day in the parking lot. It's gotta be weird. You
think Ryan Reaves was trying to find Antoine Roussell in the bubble today? No doubt he was. I was watching that game last night and he would not leave him alone. He was taunting him when Roussell was in the penalty box when he got his 10-minute misconduct for hugging.
Yeah. What was up with that, by the way?
Yeah.
What the heck?
I have no idea. That's like the most like trying to de-escalate a situation ever. Like,
it didn't even look like, I didn't watch a game. I just saw this one clip, but it didn't look hostile. They looked like they were smiling.
Roussell was not happy that game. They were on him the entire game. As they should have. I mean, it worked great. You're winning and this guy's trying to like light a fire under his team. And the only way to make it more ineffective is to laugh at him. It works great.
I'm sure they laughed at him all day in the parking lot today.
Exactly.
Playing bocce ball.
Tried to find him. I bet he didn't leave his room. Which is why we're talking about the mental strain on these guys. Because like he's afraid of going out in the bubble and getting bullied now.
Probably. I mean, this is a bunch of hockey players. Yeah. It is 100% like a schoolyard in those bubbles.
Yeah. I mean, they spend most of the day playing Call of Duty.
Taking out all their chirps on a bunch of 12-year-olds around the world.
Yeah. They're probably downloading aimbots in there and just going to town. Look at me go!
Fantastic.
So, the other big news, and this one's, not huge news, but an interesting thing that happened this week. Allan Walsh, agent for Marc Andre Fleury, posted the most interesting and cryptic of images. It was Marc Andre Fleury being stabbed in the back by a sword with the name DeBoer on it.
I like that you described that image as interesting. It was very bad Photoshop. Someone actually circled, you could see the crosshairs of his mouse in the screenshot.
It was It was everything I wanted, though.
It was something. I don't know. Do you think he's being backstabbed by Pete DeBoer?
No. Not in the slightest. Like, unless Pete DeBoer, and even still, the only way that he would was if Pete DeBoer said, Mark, 100%, 1,000% promise, we're bringing in Robin Lehner. You are the guy no matter how well Lehner plays. DeBoer would be an idiot to say that, though. And yes, he can also go back on that.
But I don't think, like, with the long career that Marc Andre Fleury has had, like, this guy must have seen and heard everything from coaches.
Yeah, he's literally experienced this already. Like, Matt Murray came in, and that's why he's on the Knights and not Matt Murray.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm really curious about how this whole thing came about. Like, there must have been a conversation between agent and player.
For sure. And, I mean, Marc Andre is not throwing anyone under the bus, right? His comments about it have been very neutral.
It's very strange. It's a very funny picture. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you go and look it up on Allan Walsh's Twitter. He hasn't deleted it.
No, he owns it.
Which means it wasn't like one of those late night texts that you wake up in the morning and delete.
That said, I know that it does, but when I look up Marc Andre Fleury, it says that he asked Allan Walsh to remove it. But as of last night, it was still there.
As far as I know, it's still there. I saw it today.
Yeah, I'm looking. And I haven't... He's got a lot of Yaroslav Halak tweets. He has deleted it. It is gone.
It's gone, eh?
As if, like, the internet... I have a copy of it on my phone. If you want to see it, just send me a text.
It's out there. And if not, it would be very easy to recreate.
Yes. Anyways, so obviously, I mean, they weren't on the same page with that.
What do you expect these guys to do? Robin Lehner has been playing great. He has a, 920 save percentage through the playoffs?
Yeah, Robin Lehner's the better goalie on this team.
You can't, you don't... It's silly. And why is an agent getting into this in the public eye?
Yeah. But especially he still has 2 more years under contract with the Knights, and Lehner does not. Like, Lehner's done after this year. He might be back. He might not. No way to know. Marc Andre Fleury is presumably, as of right now, the goalie for next year.
That is true. Unless there's some other drama going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. It's an interesting time there in Vegas, but hey, they keep winning. Won last night 5-0 against the Canucks. They're not too concerned about it. The team clearly does not care.
No, they're going to blow through the Canucks, I think.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some of this second round, rather. We're going to take a look at each of the series. We'll start out east and move out west. And as we do, we'll kind of touch on some of the things that happened in the first round, anything of note for some of those teams that were defeated. Let's start with...
By the way, I tried getting you into Gord Ambrose's hockey pool. It was a no-go.
Even after I picked the best music for him, did he listen?
Yeah. I don't know the answer to that. I'd have to say probably not.
I would say Gord Ambrose is the person that has been talked about the most on an episode that's not involved in the NHL in any way.
Okay, but the best thing is yesterday we got the rules for round 2. So everyone did so poorly in round 1 that he says if you guess all 4 series wrong in round 2, you'll get $10.
Wow.
If you get them all wrong.
All right.
And then he says, and I suggest you should join a skipping contest of some sort. I don't know what that means, but...
Yeah, I don't know either.
Anyways.
You know what? We should have... I know that Aaron, wasn't interested in coming on this week. Maybe Gord should come on. And he can just chirp you the entire time with confusing chirps. That
would be a great 2-hour episode that would just end abruptly. He'll just be like, okay, bye now.
Nick's like, hey, all right, I'm going to do the ad read now.
That's it. That's how he rolls. All right, let's talk about round 2.
Round 2, the Islanders and the Philadelphia Flyers. They are currently on the television as we speak. Islanders up 1-0 on the Flyers. The Flyers managed to get by the Capitals, the Canadiens, with barely scoring at all, relying almost solely on Carter Hart to win them that series.
Yeah. And Carter Hart did win them that series. Except for that one game, he let in less goals than Carey Price.
Yeah, if you take out that one game where they gave up 5, he's
playing great.
And it's been the exact same story in this game. The Islanders are not even playing typical Islanders hockey. Like, I mean, they are managing to slow down the Flyers and keep them away from the net, keep them outside, which is what they've done against the Capitals, is what they did against the Panthers. This is what they do. But offensively, they are putting up a better performance than the Flyers are.
Yeah, I got to stop betting against the Islanders. I picked Philadelphia in this series, and I'll tell you why. I'm too emotional. I read this article before the playoffs even started about why the Philadelphia Flyers could win the Cup this year, and I'm still hanging on to that. I'm like, that article made me believe, and I was like, yes, I'm in.
I think that Carter Hart can carry them to this victory in the same way. I think with what they have enough time to make those adjustments, but I mean, they're certainly not feeling great about things. If you have not been paying attention to this series, JVR, healthy scratched again this game for game 1. And so some of the pieces that they relied on and intended to be good are not.
Yeah, they don't look as good as they should in these playoffs, I would say, so far.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So they got to pick it up a little bit.
For sure. So they weren't able to score against the Canadiens. I mean, Carey Price had a fantastic series, a fantastic playoff in general. One that you said you need to stop writing off the Islanders. I need to stop writing off Carey Price, which will absolutely come back to bite me next season when he's mediocre again. But I'm with you on the writing off the Islanders. They are managing. The role players on this team are becoming more than role players. They are becoming genuine pieces.
And they don't get involved in extracurriculars. They play with confidence. They just go out there and, they know their skill set and they play their game and they keep winning.
Yeah. It's impressive. I mean, I think part of what makes it seem like they are role players is that they have the depth necessary so that anyone can be the one on certain nights.
Yeah.
One I'm super impressed with this year, Anthony Beauvillier. I mean, he's been able to show a lot of speed and a lot of skill with the puck. So he's one that I've been really impressed with.
So who you got?
I got Flyers in 6.
I also have Philadelphia in 6.
All right. So it's certainly not going to be Flyers in 6. Nick's getting those $10.
So I'm totally going to make $10 this round.
All right. Next up, staying out east. The series that I think we all thought, this is going to be a great conference final, and now it's in the second round. Which I want to pause on this for a second. For everyone who complains that the previous playoff format makes it so that the top teams in the Atlantic that you think are the 2 best teams in the conference match up in the second round instead of the conference finals, you still have it this year.
The league just can't win on that front.
Maybe just stop complaining and just enjoy a good round of hockey.
And this is going to be a good round.
So what did you think? Did you watch the game 1 of this series last night?
I watched a few minutes of it. I couldn't watch the whole thing. I was very surprised to wake up this morning and see that the final score was 3-2 because it was 3-0 last I checked.
I mean, granted, we're 2 time zones apart, but I'm very surprised that you went to bed when it was still 3-0.
Carl, I gotta get my sleep, man.
That beauty rest does not come cheap.
It doesn't. It comes at the expense of playoff hockey, unfortunately.
It's a shame.
So, what did you think of the game? Give me the scoop.
Boston was spectacular for, I'd say, 50 of the 60 minutes. They got that 3-0 lead and did a very good job of slowing down Tampa. It was not a thrilling game by any means. It was a Boston-style game. It was not a Tampa game. So for Tampa, in the same way that like Columbus managed, it looked a lot like that Columbus series from last year of Tampa not being able to get their feet going and be able to get those exits with speed that they thrive on to score. And I think they'll need to find a way to fix that going forward because there's no way.
Like, what is up with this team and just not being able to get going right off the bat? I find they're very much a late game performer.
Yeah, maybe,
and it hurts them sometimes.
Absolutely, they're the opposite of you, right? They're staying up late. They're putting the work in late. So maybe they should probably go to bed a little bit sooner, or later. They should sleep in later. Is what they should.
Definitely don't go to bed before your game's over.
No, don't do that. Which Boston tried to do last night. They tried to go to bed before the game was over, but didn't work out.
These are two very good teams. I think this is going to be a very good series. I think it's going to be a very tough series, and I think it's going to be a very long series.
Yes, at this point in time, knowing what I know now, I have Boston winning the series, mostly because, like you said, I agree. I think it's going to be a close series. I think being up 1-0 is enough for Boston. So unlike I have the advantage over you, I will say Boston in 7.
I hate Boston, so I'm saying Tampa in 7.
Like I don't like the pick, Nick, but I'm just going with my brain instead of my heart.
So your head says Boston, your heart wants Tampa.
Yes.
Okay. That's fair. The good news is if I get it wrong, I'm one step closer to my $10.
Can you ask Gord if you could get $250 for every series you have wrong instead?
I'm not planning that idea in his head because he'll be like, oh, that's a great idea. You know what he did last year when my father-in-law got 0 picks right all playoffs? He sent him a check for $0. This guy's, he's ruthless.
I like it. Wow. That's some fantastic stuff right there.
So, no, I will not suggest $2.50 because I don't want to have to cash a $2.50 check.
I also love, I assume that he'd be handing you, coins. I like that he's handing out checks.
He's doling out checks.
Gord, giving someone a check, you're obviously losing money, but he just, gave away a check. That's an expensive piece of paper to be just handed out.
One that had to go right into the garbage.
I'd be framing it. Look, here it is.
Pretty sure it's on the fridge.
Yeah, it should be. All right, so there we go. I've got Boston. Nick has Tampa. I would expect what Tampa does need. Andre Vasilevsky was not good on those goals. The rest of the team also didn't look good, but he also was not awake for that game. Maybe have an earlier pregame nap, or not so heavy of a pregame meal. Tampa, maybe that's their problem.
Too much pasta.
Yeah, you eat pasta the day before the game. You don't eat it on game day.
Boston's just giving them all that pasta during the game.
All right, Nick. Let's move on to the game that didn't happen. There was no game 1 between Colorado and Dallas. Game 1 is clearly tonight.
My favorite part about that game 1 is that it was scheduled to start before the other series was even scheduled to finish.
Which is great. And then they finished, and they didn't have to deal with trying to explain that to fans.
I just love that their position right now is no, we will not go one night without hockey.
Yeah, we're going. One thing, do you recall when, and I'm sure there's a way, I tried loosely to find this information today. Do you know when they moved to one bubble Is it just for the finals or is
It's
it
the conference finals.
Okay, so after this round, the Eastern teams pack their bags and move.
Yes.
Okay. Which makes sense. I mean, for having two teams in a bubble, two teams in two bubbles doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
I mean, they're set up for more teams and more people, so.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So this team, Colorado and Dallas, the Dallas Stars got out to a rather definitive Game 1 victory. I mean, Colorado came back because Nathan McKinnon was like, we're not losing. And then the rest of the team was like, nah, we are. So sorry. I
mean, it was a definitive game in the first period.
Yes.
Like, I turned on the game halfway through the period. It was 3-1 or something.
And you know what, Nick? I have a problem about this series.
Okay, what's that?
I'm trying really hard. Because for those who don't know, can you let us know? I mean, we call you Stevie Nick, but your full given name is what?
Nick Seguin.
Right. And there's a certain player on the Stars that I saw doing some things that I did not enjoy in that game. Tyler Seguin.
Good old Tyler. Cousin Tyler, I call him.
Yeah. No relation that you know of, correct?
No relation. I get the question all the time. So much so that my plan is if I ever meet Tyler Seguin to be like, oh, are you related to Nick?
He's like, who's Nick?
Exactly. Why are you asking me if I'm related to Tyler?
But anyways, I had a real problem that day, Nick.
Tell me about it.
I continually saw him doing great things for the Stars, and it was frustrating me so much that I struggled to distance you from him. So I want us to play a little bit of a game here, Nick.
Okay.
It's called Seguin versus Seguin.
Okay.
And the way that this is going to work is I'm going to give you a scenario, and you're going to tell me if you think that this is something that Tyler would do or something that Nick would do.
I'm going to tell you this?
So you're going to tell me, like, do you, because I mean, you know yourself quite well.
I do, yes.
And I know Tyler quite well because I have a growing dislike for him.
Okay.
And so you're going to try to help me out about this in what we are now calling Seguin versus Seguin.
All right.
So
I think I can do that.
Scenario number one. This Seguin, I guess we'll do a Jeopardy style. This Seguin would help old people cross the road.
Do I need to buzz in?
No, it's just you. I mean, you can buzz in.
Who is Nick?
Who is Nick is correct. Nick Seguin would help old people cross the road.
I have, actually.
Really? Like, how recently?
Not recently.
Oh, still, though. That's impressive.
Probably more times than Tyler, though.
Probably. Yeah. This Seguin watches old people cross the road.
Definitely Tyler.
Definitely Tyler. You know, he's sitting up there in the bubble, just looking down on the streets, just being like, look at that old person trying to cross the road.
His balcony just watches over the crosswalk.
Like, that's his schedule. He's like, wake up, get my coffee, sit on the balcony, and just, maybe I'll just yell at old people who are taking too long.
Sounds like something he'd do. He'd just chirp them.
Yeah.
Slowing down there, bud.
All right, Nick. Next up. This Seguin scores goals in beer league.
I mean, it's not me, but does Tyler play beer league?
No, he doesn't.
Oh, so you're talking about me?
I'm talking about you.
I may be known to score one or two off the old buttocks.
That's a great way to score. If you got it, might as well use it. This Seguin, well, I almost spoiled it, but it's not. This Seguin probably is cheered on by everyone when they score.
That's definitely me.
definitely you. This Seguin is cheered on by barely anyone when they score.
Also me.
That one was actually Tyler at best.
Because he's in a bubble. There's no fans.
There's no fans. Not even, like, I'd say barely half of the people who are at the games are cheering for him. For fan bases, at best 131st of the league is cheering for him.
Carl.
But most people picked the Avalanche to win this series. So
Carl, you're coming across as very salty right now.
I'm just saying. So he's very good, Nick, and I don't like it.
He is very good, and I think he's getting into your heads a little bit.
He's in my head. Luckily, we're about to find out tonight, Game 2, how much the Avalanche can handle. However, Philip Grubauer is out, likely for the rest of the series. His groin injury did not look good.
Yeah, it looked like it hurt.
The Eric Johnson is out as well. He tried to push through Game 1, could not. So he's out. Matt Calvert's also out. So some significant injuries for the Avalanche moving forward. Luckily, Pavel Francouz, a goalie that I trust to fill in. And, I mean, the Stars are running their backup. We might as well, too.
Plus, you have Nathan MacKinnon, who's like 3 players. So,
I mean, so last week, I'm not sure. You were much more gracious. If it was me saying the things about Nathan MacKinnon that Aaron said, you would have stopped me immediately.
Look, Carl, she was a guest on our show. You have to be nice to your guests.
Because I agree with her. I mean, she was saying she was fully in camp Nathan McKenzie. That's not a person. Nathan MacKinnon is the best player in the league right now. I had a conversation. I just casually threw it. I was talking to someone who's actually from Nova Scotia this week and casually threw out that he was the best player from Cole Harbour. And the guy was like, yup, didn't expect that. I mean, he just abandoned his first love and was like, yep, McKinnon's better. So we're firmly all on the Nathan MacKinnon train now. And he was the only player that showed up for Game 1.
I mean, we're all on the Nathan MacKinnon train now. You literally just referenced 3 people.
I mean,
look, there's no denying he's been one of, if not the best player in the league for the last couple of years. He's up there.
I think my people were good sources. They are me, the fantastic and talented Aaron Ambrose, and someone from Nova Scotia. I think those are all the qualifications I need to make my case.
Oh my God. All right. Well, I think there's a little bit of recency bias when it comes to the Cole Harbour debate. That's okay. And yeah, look, you guys have an amazing player in Nathan MacKinnon. He probably should have won the Hart Trophy last year. He probably should win it this year.
However, they've got to show up. If they play at all, and I mean, Dallas played fantastically. They took advantage of every opportunity they had. If they play that game, the Avalanche need to show up with their best to win. And
do you not think the Avalanche brought their best in Game 1?
No, I do not. That was not their best game. Coach Bednar said after the game that half of the team didn't even show up. And I wanted him to name names. I wanted him to be Kale, you didn't show up. He had a pretty good game. Sam Girard, you didn't show up. Naz didn't show up. The entire Tyson Yost, you didn't show up. JT Comper, you didn't show up. I wanted him to go down and list them all, please, and thank you.
You should have asked one of the players to list all the other players who didn't show up.
He's
the old Mike Babcock.
Give him the old Babcock.
Give him the old Babcock. Look, I don't think the Avalanche brought their best either, but if it makes you feel any better, I still think they're going to win this series.
It makes me feel better. It does.
I do. I think they had a game against Arizona where they didn't bring their best game, and they bounced back from that just fine. Better than fine.
The Stars are not Arizona, though. If they bounce back from that game and put up 7 tonight, like they did the 2 games against Arizona after that, sure. I think these are going to be high-scoring, close games. I think it's going to be the type of hockey that the Leafs wish they could play.
I like that. You're right. And they're going to win. I've got Colorado in 6.
I think, my heart says Colorado. Before that game, my brain said Colorado in 5. They've now lost, so I think I have to change that to Colorado in 6.
Sounds about right to me.
So there we go. Colorado in 6. I'm with you. I was very confident going into that game. I was as overconfident as the actual Avalanche players were when they played that game.
That's what happens when in the last 2 games you played, you outscored your opponent like 15-3 or something like that.
It was when you outscore them 14-2, you outscore them by an average of 6 goals a game. You're on cloud 9. You think you can do anything.
Absolutely.
And then you remember those opponents were the Arizona Coyotes. Yeah,
they're bound to fall a little down to earth, but they'll bounce back. I think they'll be fine.
I think so, Nick. I'm going to do the anti-Nick. I'm going to stay up late and watch the game tonight. It starts at 8 o'clock local time for me. So that's
earlier.
Your time.
Yeah, but that's earlier than the West Coast normally does.
Yeah, so maybe pour yourself a coffee and stay up late with me.
No, maybe I'll just watch half the first period.
And then the highlights in the morning. Not even highlights. I don't even watch highlights anymore. I just look at the tweets. They're better than the highlights. The tweets are better than what you get on SportsCenter. So
it's crazy, man.
All right, one last series, Nick. The Vegas Golden Knights and the Vancouver Canucks. Vegas got out to a 5-0 Game 1 victory. They looked like Colorado looked against the Coyotes.
Well, I wouldn't say it's the equivalent matchup, but they're much better than the Canucks. I don't know if I expected 5-0. Like that was more of a run-up score than I expected, but I expected them to win.
Certainly expected them to win, definitely. And I would say this is the one. I know I believe you had Vegas as a sweep last round. Is that correct?
Who did they play last round?
They played the Blackhawks.
No, I had Colorado as a sweep last round.
Okay. And Vegas didn't sweep. I think that I would say that they will win in 5, though. I had Vegas in 5 last round, and I think I was right. And I have Vegas in 5 this round, too. Okay, there we go.
The Canucks are good. They're better than I thought they would be. And I think the Canucks fan base is getting a little too high on them right now, but they're trending in the right direction. This has been a strong showing for that team.
Absolutely. They should be very proud of what they've done. However, this team is not conference final level.
No.
They aren't. Can they be next year? Maybe. If they bring back Markstrom, if they, addition by subtraction some pieces, continue to bring some guys up, they can get better. Absolutely. They've got cap space. They have the option and the ability to be flexible where other teams cannot. So that's great. They're going to be fine. But they're getting there. It's just not right now. They're not going to be able to get through this Golden Knights team. No, this Golden Knights team is, especially after watching last night, they're good up and down. Their backup goalie was literally stabbed in the back and is still better than most of the goalies in the league. Literally stabbed. We have the photographic evidence. Yeah. Did you not see that? That was an I don't know how we only saw it when his agent tweeted out a picture. That looked like an in-game moment. I'm just really impressed that Pete DeBoer has a sword with his name engraved into it. Where can I get one of those? You know what? We can probably from Tyler. Tyler probably has one. He's probably stabbed several people in the back. That sounds like something he would do. Yeah. Anyways, Nick, Vegas is good. The Canucks are fine, but they're not going to win. The only thing we have left to do before we get to our high sticking, the game that we play, Nick. I need your help with something.
Okay, I want to help.
Here's what happened. We had a fantastic round, got to the end of it, and there was a tie.
Uh-oh. The dreaded tie.
The dreaded tie. So, now here's the thing, though. We have our tie, and we have been doing a random draw as well, right? We said first place gets one, a random draw gets one, and we hand it out.
Okay.
What do we do with this tie? Do we give them both a prize? Do we randomly pick one of them? Do they both get it and no random draw? Do we just hope that one person doesn't send us an address so we don't have to send them all out? What is the solution, Nick?
Okay, here's what we're going to do, okay? Don't tell me who they are. You're going to assign one of them the name Nick and the other one the name Tyler. I'm going to put those two names into a random generator, and we're going to see which one comes up first.
Okay, I'm going to write them down, though, so that you can know. So person number 1 is Nick.
Of course, naturally.
Person number 2 is Tyler. All right, I got it. I got them written down.
Okay,
So
you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. I'm about to push randomize. The mic is hot. The winner is Nick.
Nick wins. Congratulations. You can see it there. Brody, congratulations on the win, Brody.
There you go, Brody.
Let us know where we can send you your prize so that we can get you your choice of a fourth line coaster or a fourth line puck and a pack of what I can only assume now is vintage hockey cards. How old does something have to be vintage, Nick?
When I think vintage, I think 70s.
Okay.
Why? What do you think?
I think not the 70s. I don't know. This is from the 90s, like early 90s.
It's early 90s vintage now?
That's what I realized. So I was complaining recently, as old people do. And I was complaining because we were listening to the classic rock station in town. And I don't know how recently you've listened to a classic rock station or the radio.
It would make me sad.
It does. Because I was like, this song cannot be on here. I mean, a few years ago, there was Foo Fighters on there. I was not okay with
that. Classic rock?
On the classic rock station. The song in question, which they then played back-to-back times I listened to this station, which shows they really need to diversify their catalog, was a song that I greatly associate with hockey. It was the opening song for the St. John's Maple Leafs when they came out for years, and it was Money City Maniacs by Sloan. Fantastic song.
Okay, but Sloan is not classic rock.
Well, it's
not Sloan.
So I started looking these things up. And what was the other one? There was another one that they played. Anyways, this song was from 1999. Like, Sloan came out, Money City Maniacs came out, and I want to say 2002, 2003. Oh, Sam Roberts was on there. That's the other.
No, come on.
Samuel L. Roberts was on the classic rock station. Which
Samuel.
Samuel.
Is that his middle initial? L?
No.
Okay.
But it was on there. And I said to myself, there's no way that Sam Roberts is classic rock.
Well, these radio stations play fast and loose with these rules anyways. The indie station in Toronto plays like hard rock music all the time. I'm like, this is not indie.
Yeah.
It's not alternative.
Anyways, Nick.
Well,
what was their point here?
I don't know, but you seem really upset.
Vintage hockey. Look, ever since we talked about that Colorado series, I have been rattled and unable to focus. So let's do our random draw, Nick, for our prize. I've got it set up here. Got our random numbers. Generate number 252. That's a deep cut. 252. So it's not one of our top performers of the round. It is it's a little ironic that he's our winner. At Big Dummy is our winner. Congratulations, Big Dummy. You are our winner. You can let us know. So you and Brody are our winners. We are going to have one very upset Mr. Erickson, who tied for the lead and still came away empty-handed. Good thing for him, though.
I mean, it's exactly what happened to the Red Wings, so I don't feel too bad.
Nick's going to start saying no one who has the best odds gets it at all. Good news for him. He is currently tied again for the lead. He had Jonathan Marchessault for the Red Wing or for the Golden Knights as the game-winning goal scorer yesterday. So he's got 4 points. Because he also was one of the 2 jerks that picked the Dallas Stars to beat the Avalanche in Game 1. So it's disappointing, Nick, but
good for him, though.
Points. Only 2 people did it. So the way this works, if you are new to high sticking, head on over to Twitter, or you can email us, or you can Facebook us. You could send us a postcard with them if you wanted to, and just expedite it so it gets here before the end of the series. But let us know who you think is going to score the game-winning goal for every game. If the team that player is on wins, you get a point. If they are a skater and they score the game-winning goal, you get 2 bonus points for 3. If they are a goalie, which we have only had 1 person successfully predict a goalie shutout this postseason, they get 4 points. The goaltender in question, Carter Hart.
Of course it was. That's a safe bet when you go Carter Hart.
We had some Carter Hart predictions in this game. Today, turns out what you actually should have done was Semyon Varlamov. So,
because he's going to get a shutout.
That's it, Nick. I mean,
shutout.
Flyers fans everywhere are thrilled with you right now. Anyways, head on over. We put out a tweet. We usually will either post the standings or we'll retweet everyone so that you get some reminders throughout the day. But head on over. It's a lot of fun. You can show that you're as smart as Brody and Big Dummy and Erickson and everyone else. That should be I know we've called it high sticking for a while, but we should change it to Are You Smarter Than a Big Dummy? That's the new name of this game.
And I love Twitter.
You know what else I love, Nick? I love Park Power. You know why I love Park Power?
Why?
Because they are fantastic place because they can provide you with your utilities, which are fantastic. You cannot watch hockey if you don't have utilities at home. Right? You need electricity to run your television, your cable, all those things. If you're watching on the internet, you need that.
Elliot Friedman probably needed it for a shaver to shave off his beard.
I mean, he needed multiple razors to get through that. So, you need utilities. So you need them. You got to go to Park Power, parkpower.ca. That's the place to go because the people who run it, Chris Kazawaski, is the founder of Park Power, but also a fantastic person who had this great idea where Park Power is going to share their profits with local charities. So as a new customer of Park Power, you get to pick which community partner receives 10% of the proceeds from your electricity bill can go to them. So there's lots of great places. One of them, CKUA radio station. So if you go to parkpower.ca/CKUA, you can find out more about that partnership. But there's places like that radio station, Boys and Girls Club, which is a fantastic organization to support. They support that. They support Muscular Dystrophy, Canadian Parks and Wilderness Society, Oldview Foundation, Festival Place, Cultural Arts Foundation. All these get supported through Park Power. And you can pick. If you're like, man, this one really, I feel passionate about supporting them, you can pick them and support a fantastic charity just by doing what you would be doing anyways. You're paying for utilities, might as well help someone else out in class. So head on over there. You can find us at thefourthlinepodcast.com, at Fourth Line Podcast on Twitter, facebook.com/thefourthlinepodcast, mail at thefourthlinepodcast.com. If you want to send us your thoughts on anything, if you want to send in your high sticking, if you want to tell me why I'm wrong on Tyler Seguin, if you want to suggest that maybe next time I save the Avalanche talk to the end of the show when they're coming off a bad loss so that I get less rattled by it the rest of the show. What we should have done, Nick, what we should have done is we should have just switched roles, because your hosting abilities have been shown to be on par or better than my own. You should have just taken over from then on.
Well, I don't know if that's true, but certainly if you're going to get that emotional, then yeah, it might be a good idea. I'll be able to keep us on track.
It's like, you shouldn't drive when you're angry. You shouldn't host a podcast when you're angry either. It's not a good thing.
That's right.
So anyways, we'll be back next week with another fantastic show. We'll give an update on the high sticking standings, remind you of how to do that, and talk about all the news of this week, which will probably be, so last week, our unexpected news was Marc Andre Fleury's agent tweeting that picture. Make a prediction of what you think.
And the week before was Tuukka Rask. So I think the real question is which goalie is going to make the news this week.
Ooh, and there's only 8 starting goalies left, 8 backups. There's 16 goalies left in the playoffs. I would pick. This is some great content right here as we pause.
What about, I'm probably going to say Colorado.
You think Pavel Francouz or Philip Grubauer injured?
Yeah.
An injured Grubauer? Do we find out that he hurt his injury did not start on the ice? He aggravated an injury that happened during a intense game of water polo.
Some sort of bubble activity. I thought you were going to go the Call of Duty route, but you actually selected something physical.
Is that what Eric Johnson and him both pre-aggravated their injuries, playing COD, threw their controllers at each other, or they're faking it because now they can play all the Call of Duty they want. Either way, Nick, we've stumbled upon a goldmine.
They're not roommates, are they? They weren't doing that thing where they're each jumping on their own bed, and when they tried to switch beds, they hit each other midair.
I mean, you can visit each other's rooms. I'm sure that happened. I don't see why it couldn't have. They both sent each other to the quiet room. They're like, we need to get checked out.
No more monkeys jumping on the bed.
I mean, that explains the start of that game. If he was concussed, if Grubauer was concussed from a mid-air collision with Eric Johnson, that is not a condor you want flying into you. So,
I mean, maybe they were playing the No More Monkeys on the Bed game. Started with 30 Avalanche players.
They were the only 2 left.
They were the only 2 left.
They bounced each other off. Nobody won. No one won that game. They both fell off at the same time.
And they followed through with that the next night on the ice. Nobody won that game.
And then Coach Bednar ran in very disappointed with all of them and sent them to bed early without a snack.
That's right. Bubble life.
All right. Thank you for tuning in this week. Thank you for tuning in to get that information, that little hot tip of goss that we gave you there. Until next week, I'm Mr. Carl. He's Stevie Nick.
And it's time for us to wrap up another Fourth Line show. I know what you're thinking. You don't want us to go. Don't worry, Carl. Colorado's a safe pick. And you should never, ever choose Tyler over Nick.